Harrison Armstrong managed to pull off yet another promotion campaign by winning the EFL League One playoffs last year to get Notts County back to the EFL Championship.
I am back! What it do, baby?
With only one more promotion to go until the Premier League, Armstrong is now laser focused on making that a reality. So much so that he completely ignores Sheffield Wednesday's attempts to interview him for their manager position. As the transfer window opens for the summer, Armstrong proceeds to dip his feet on the free transfer market, picking up players such as defender Lewis Brunt, keeper Christian Heggie, and midfielder Adrian Pajaziti, who had caught Armstrong's eye after the banger he scored against the Magpies during the League One playoff final. He also picks up wingback Tyrell Ashcroft on loan from Spurs, while loaning out Aidan Baldwin, who just wasn't getting enough playing time at this point. Along with their championship fixtures, Notts County also gets their first Carabao Cup matchup, which will be against an established championship side in Watford. The opening matchup for Notts County sees Cardiff City come to Meadow Lane, and Notts opening up the campaign with a solid 2-1 win, as the striker pair of Kedwin Scott and Macaulay Langstaff scored goals to propel the Magpies to a victory. 3 days later, they get Watford coming to town. Macaulay Langstaff went on to show that he can score at any level by getting a brace within 3 minutes, and Notts County cruised to a dominant 4-0 victory in the first round of the Carabao Cup. Those 2 goals put Langstaff only 24 goals away from equaling club legend Les Brad's record of 125.
It's gonna be legendary!
They would draw Cambridge in the second round of the Carabao, but get an immediate reality check in the Championship as Sheffield United battered them 5-3, a 1-1 draw against West Bromwich Albion followed, and then Burnley added onto the pain with a 2-0 win. The Magpies managed to stem the bleeding by managing clean sheets against Plymouth Argyle and Cambridge United in the Carabao Cup, before wrapping up August with a draw against fellow promoted team Rotherham United. That led to the transfer window deadline, where Armstrong acquired further assistance by bringing in fullback Roman Dixon on loan from Everton, and also parted ways with fan favorite John Bostock, as he went to Chesterfield for $50,000 to wrap up the window. The team had the lowest payroll expenditure in the entirety of the league, but as a newly promoted side, that was to be expected. Notts County does carry on, starting September strong with dominant wins over Reading and Swansea City with goals aplenty, a last-minute win against Stoke City, but then seeing the latter half of the month fall apart as Bournemouth beat them at the death in the third round of the Carabao Cup. Their starting goalie in Christian Heggie got injured for a few weeks, and Luton Town capitalized by beating them 1-0. The struggles continue as Notts have to rescue a late draw against Birmingham City, as that entire fanbase tries to explain to Tom Brady that a draw is, in fact, better than losing.
So here's the deal. I got a lot to learn.
But while the stretch of games has been tough for Armstrong, Notts has found themselves in 6th place currently due to goal differential. Wait, does anyone hear the sound of that ambulance?
No. Hell no.
So, pretty sure Armstrong was not counting on losing his best player for most of the entire season due to a broken frickin' leg. The show does go on, but it's clear the Magpies are already missing their best striker, as a draw against Derby County and a loss to Sunderland soon follows. Jody Jones twisting his ankle and being out for the next 3 to 4 weeks wasn't going to help matters either, as a draw to Blackpool makes the team winless in 5 games to wrap up October. Thankfully, they had Ipswich next, who'd been struggling massively thus far, and a 3-0 win over them started November on a positive note. A draw against Watford and a win over Millwall at Meadow Lane soon followed, before arguably one of the biggest matches of the calendar came along.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Time with
Brazilian Fury.
Baby.
Over 130 years ago, Notts County and Nottingham Forest started one of the oldest derbies in professional football. Separated by 270 meters and divided by the River Trent, Meadow Lane and the City Ground are also the 2 closest grounds in England. But over the past 2 decades, Their chances to play one another outside of friendlies have been rare, with their last matchup being in the 2011 EFL Cup. So this is, in fact, a rather big deal as Notts County is going across the river to face their rivals in the Nottingham Derby for the first time in 14 years.
2 hours later.
The Magpies get dominated and lose 2-0.
That was a bit anticlimactic.
The response from that loss is with yet another one, this time to Coventry. It's right after that loss in which Notts County get their third round FA Cup draw, which will pit them against Leicester City, who were struggling in the Premier League. While October and November were marred by inconsistencies, Notts County came out swinging during the course of December. Young Ethan Wheatley, one of the signings of last season's youth releases by bigger clubs, filled in admirably for Langstaff, and the team found a knack for winning close games, including huge wins against the likes of Fulham and Luton Town. It's also during this window that Armstrong yet again has a word with his friends at Leeds United, loading in striker Mateo Joseph from the January window until the end of the season to help fill in for Langstaff's absence. The winning streak does come to an end in early January with a 1-0 loss to Swansea City, but Armstrong's game plan springs a surprise on an unsuspecting Leicester City side in the FA Cup. As they defend for dear life, Heggie makes 13 saves in total to win Player of the Match honors, and 2 early goals by the Magpies are more than enough to come out victorious against the Premier League side. Oh, Armstrong also shows that there are no hard feelings and that he did nothing suspicious of any sort to get the manager job years ago, as he brings in former gaffer Luke Williams to be a part of the coaching staff moving forward.
Tonight I'm going to have a shandy, and then I will probably have an early night.
Gillingham would be the draw for Notts County in the 4th round of the FA Cup later in the month, but more championship matches awaited, as Notts yet again cannot decipher Derby County, Birmingham City, and Sunderland, undoing their entire great form from the previous month in the process. They do take out their frustrations on Gillingham in the FA Cup and Blackpool at least, but the FA Cup run won't get any easier as they get drawn against Crystal Palace in the next round.
Good news, everyone!
Macaulay Langstaff has started the rehabilitation process.
Several days later.
God damn it!
The January transfer window wasn't eventful outside of bringing in Mateo Joseph early on, so on to February, where it'd be a lose one, win one type affair throughout the entire month that kept the club just outside the playoff window. But the highlight of it definitely had to be a second half of the FA Cup's 5th round, where Mateo Joseph put in a hat-trick on Crystal Palace to get the Magpies to the quarterfinals of the competition for the first time since the 1954-55 season. So their reward for that would be getting West Ham in the quarterfinals. On the bright side, Notts County do break the lose one, win one routine with a draw against Watford, at least. Thankfully, Millwall are kinda crap right now, so that's a bounce back win for the Magpies before their epic clash against West Ham United at London Stadium, in which they will have Macaulay Langstaff back in the lineup for the first time since the broken leg in October. But the Hammers put in a dominant performance on both sides of the pitch. Mohamed Kudus scores in the first half, and Notts' FA Cup run comes to an end with a 1-0 loss. But with all cups having come to an end for the Magpies, Armstrong now was putting his full focus in ending the championship campaign strong, making a push for a playoff spot in the same way he did in last year's League One campaign. They start that by defeating Sheffield United, and a brace from Macaulay Langstaff rescues a draw against Cardiff City to wrap up March. With 7 games left in the tank, April would be crucial for the promotion hopes of the club, as the battle for the playoff places involved quite a few clubs at this point. Rescuing a draw against Burnley at the last minute is, well, it gets them a point at least. It has them at 5 unbeaten games after it, in fact. Following that with a draw against West Bromwich Albion, well, that's at least a point against one of the top 6 currently in the league. A late game rescued against top of the table Fulham for another draw and point. Yeah, cool. but maybe you all might want to start winning a game or two?
NANI?!
Armstrong, bud, are you alright? Because your team has been playing Drawosaurus this entire month and you've got another Nottingham Derby on deck here. Oh, okay, you're just gonna draw that one 2-0 then. That's great, buddy. Real solid work there. Beating Bristol City and then Coventry is cool and all to wrap up April, but you all do realize you can't catch up now, right? No, really. Nottingham Forest beat you all to the final spot with a game to go. Honestly, I get it. For the past 2 seasons, the lineup has been heavily reliant on Macaulay Langstaff doing the bulk of the scoring, and while Kedwin Scott had a fantastic season to try and make up for it, making him this season's Fans Player of the Season, at this level, just one person having all that firepower isn't enough to do the trick. Heggie also deserves credit for his ability at net, fully earning Armstrong's trust as the starting keeper moving forward. Dylan Chumbost, putting up a season of 13 goals and assists, deserves its proper due, especially as Dan Crowley and Jody Jones struggled with injuries throughout the year. But ending the season in 8th place is above and beyond most people's expectations, and Notts County establishing themselves as a EFL Championship team is going to get them considerably more money than they would in the lower leagues. There will be some tough times ahead, as interest in Langstaff is starting to pick up again with Preston City and Reading showing interest, but for now, Notts County can at least rest up and make a second attempt at promotion next year. They can rest even more comfortably knowing that at the very least, Nottingham Forest bottled promotion at Wembley by losing on penalty kicks.